Oh, it's another. Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. It's another day of Ocean Spit, the little show about big things. Today is Wednesday, the 15th of December. I hope you guys are all doing great. And boy, we got a great show for you guys today. I'm going to tell you, man. First of all, every show is dedicated to the first responders, the teachers, the farmers, of course, the doctors and the nurses, and let's not forget the firemen and the police people. That's what it's all about. But you got to remember that I'm so happy when you guys join the show and you guys send me letters and stuff to talk about. And it's just wonderful making this show so successful. I want you guys to make sure you check the website at TonyOceanMusic.com or give us a call at 847-769-8609 to book a show. A lot of great things to talk about, folks. We had a great show so far this week. Ronnie Rice from the New Colony 6 was on. Fantastic. Kathy Rich and Greg Potter was on yesterday, of course. They gave away some tickets to their Christmas show, the Buddy Rich Christmas show, folks, this Sunday at the wonderful Des Plaines Theater in Des Plaines, Ron Estes' new theater. So they gave away some free tickets to that. Thank you guys for doing that. And today we got a great guest on as well, Chicago legendary bass player, our good friend Joe Gagliardo. He was going to be on. So we are excited about all that stuff. We got a lot of good things to talk about. Remember, let's get some sponsors out of the way. Every Tony Ocean show is brought to you by Eco Solar Solutions, where you always save more energy. And when you save more energy, you save more money. Call Paul and Caesar at 630-345-2964 for solar paneling is now. How about Tri-Cohair Experts? Guys, how many years you've been going through the comb over and the hatch and the sprays? Get the hair done, man. They're from Rosemont, Illinois. They're great people. Anthony and Carmela, Tri-Cohair Experts, recreating great hair days. Right there, 773-999-7888. And don't forget Don Esteban Cigars out of Tarpon Springs, Florida. Everybody smokes cigars. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. And folks, a lot of my fans do. And they're great gift givers. Everybody wants a nice box of cigars for Christmas, folks. Believe it or not, it's not the booze. It's the cigars they want. Men want them. Women love them. And folks, Javier is the best. They hand roll and they come right to your home. So give my good buddy Don a call at 727-366-7536. All right, before we start let's start the show here now. It's time. Let's go, boys.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Ocean's Pit, the little show about big things. And now, your host, Mr. Tony Ocean.
Thank you, Nelson Santiago and the Expensive Winos. This is great, folks. Today is Wednesday, the 15th of December. Now, let me tell you what we got. I want to thank everybody. First of all, a couple things we got to make sure that we take care of this. Now, don't forget, everybody keeps asking about the tour, the Windy City Tour show. Well, that's right, folks. We are on tour starting March 11th at the Venice Community Center in Florida. We'll be there on March 11th. March 12th and 13th will be at Joey D's in Marco Island. And we have a bunch of more shows still to be announced. So we're excited about that. Me and my good buddy Greg Reaney, the Windy City Boys. It's going to be a great show going to Florida. We're excited about that. Also, the brand new Dean Martin book is finally out. People have been asking about it. Elliot Thorpe is the writer, the great guy. And his father was Bernard Thorpe. He was the guy in charge of the Dean Martin Association out of England. So Bernard got it right here, folks. And he interviewed me, for the book, which I thought was very cool. And I was very honored to get that. And I just thought it was going to be a little blah, but it's 2 full pages right here with Tony Ocean. So I was very cool. And Elliot's going to be on the show on the 22nd. Maybe get a chance to get an autographed copy for the good times. Authorized by the Dean Martin family right here, man. Can only get it through Elliot Thorpe. So check it out, ElliotThorpe.com to get the book there. I'm very excited about that. All right, now, tonight, folks. Now, last night, I just want to say thank you so much to our good friends, Teresa and Scott and Tony and Denise. I had a night off, and I usually do not have a night off. In December, we had 3 days off the whole month for this month. So it's been crazy. So we went to Chicago Prime Steakhouse, my lovely wife, Laura, and we had some great dinner and some great drinks. And it was just a good time. I want to thank George again. Just does a great job over there. And like I said, to be able to go out and have some good times. And it was nice to be down for a change. Even some of the people that see me that work there go, wow, it was downtime. So it was very, very interesting. So it was a lot of fun. Now, let me tell you what's going on this week. Tonight, we will be at Tavern on the Point in Edison Park with Rhino Ryan and the return of Regina Karma. That's tonight, 7 o'clock. Tomorrow, Thursday, we'll be at Capri in Willow Springs with the great Rhino Ryan and Lisa P. Friday, Chicago Prime Steakhouse at 8 o'clock. Saturday, we'll be at Taverna on Division in Melrose Park, of course, with Rhino Ryan and Tony Toto on drums. And don't forget, folks, this Sunday, the Arcada Theater Speakeasy will be there for Sinatra Sunday. That's a 3 o'clock hit. Me and the Professor Daryl Armenstad. So we're excited, man. A lot of good stuff coming up, and that's what it's about. You got to go out and support local establishments, and you got to go out and support live entertainment. That's what it's about. So let's get to the guest right now, folks. How about let's do one more sponsor here so I don't have to interrupt Joe when we're talking to him. Other quick facts, don't forget you can follow the show on Twitter. Right there, folks. Go to Tony Ocean on Twitter. Also, go ahead to YouTube and you can see the show. Also, folks, subscribe to YouTube and find out what's going on with us. All right, one more sponsor if we can. Deutsch Power Center right out of Elgin, Illinois, servicing the construction and diesel industry area for the last 100 years. Call my buddy Sal at 224-276-6550. All right, we got some chats here. Who do we have in the house? Of course, the great Mark Sheely, of course, Ricky Stokes, Helen Tenuta, Robert Provenzano. We have Santa Barbara. We have Florida. We have Las Vegas. We have New Jersey, Ohio, Wisconsin. Tony Bisek from the Meteors. Great to see you there. Oh, it's going to be great. Some new faces. Jerry Jams, we'll see you tonight. All right, everybody. Without any further ado, let's get to my guest. Been playing bass rock and roll music for many, many years. He was 5 years old when he bought his very first 45, playing bass, man. His first band was 1966. We're going to talk. He's played with everybody. Dirty Dan, of course, Buck for many, many years from the Boys. Backed up Cheap Trick, played with Little Richard, played with Chuck Berry. I mean, the stories, even the Mighty Max. So, of course, Mighty Max from Bruce Springsteen, one of my favorite drummers of all time. So we're going to talk to him, folks. Nice Italian boy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the show, Joe Gagliardo. Joe, let's get him on, make sure he's on. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing fine, pal. How are you, Mo? I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here, too. Joe, my God, I'm telling you something. We've known each other for many, many years, Joe. And, being in the music business as much as you've done, a lot of people know about that. Let's just find out real fast. Where was Joe born at?
All right. Well, I was born in what's now the Lakeview Wrigley area. I grew up, my mom and dad had a little Italian grocery store. We lived above it. They had a homemade specialty of Italian sausage. And, grew up in, that neighborhood now is totally different than when I grew up. But
sure.
It was a great, regular Chicago neighborhood and, lots of great memories.
You also opened, you were there near Cubs Park. So obviously you're still a Cubs fan?
Yeah, I'm still a Cubs fan. Actually, Mo, I'm a baseball fan. And although because I grew up right by Cubs Park, I was able to go to Cubs games. They used to let you go in for free after the seventh inning stretch and that kind of stuff. But I love the Sox too. I used to watch the Sox on TV and, be able to go to Cubs Park to see the Cubs live.
Yeah, there you go. So you liked both teams, which is fantastic. Joe, actually, Italian family. Did you have a big family? Do you have a big family?
Well, I have older sisters, and my mom and dad are both gone. I have older sisters, and that's how I actually got exposed to music at an early age, because my oldest sister is 10 years older than me. So when I'm 4 or 5 years old, she's 14, 15, she's right in the thick of, American Bandstand and, whatever else was on TV at that time. And in fact, she was the one that took me to Woolworths where I bought my first 45.
Isn't that pretty cool? And that was the question I was going to ask you. Who influenced you? And it was your sister. Even I had an uncle that was giving me when he was 10 years older than me too. And that's how I started listening to all the British invasion music. which I still listen to this day. Joe, were you a Beatles fan or a Stones fan growing up?
Well, both. I got to tell you, seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show busted things open for me. But then everybody that followed, the Stones, you and I like the same kind of music, Mo. I mean, we could spend hours and hours. We love the British Invasion. We love all the Chicago bands, whether it's from the 60s, 70s, and beyond. But the Dave Clark Five, all of them. And that the Beatles, Stones, Dave Clark Five, and that whole British Invasion is what actually triggered me wanting to play guitar.
All right. And then why the bass? Was it Paul McCartney? Why the bass?
Well, what ended up happening was you know how it is in bands, and I started out actually on a 6-string guitar because that was the first guitar that I had. But what happened with the bass was we had a lead singer who, I'm in 8th grade. We had a lead singer that had a brother that was a few years older than us, and he actually had a real bass. And he brought it over to my house one time, and I plugged it in and played it, and I'm like, wow, this is cool. I love this low-end thunder, and that's really what triggered it. And people always ask me, because I play with my thumb, but I'm not a slapper. And they always ask me, well, that's very unusual. I mean, not many bass players play with their thumb. And the reason is because when I turned on the TV in 1964, whatever it was, and I saw Brian Wilson playing a P bass with the finger rest on the bottom of the strings. So I didn't know any better, and I wasn't paying attention that Paul McCartney's playing a Hofner with a pick. I saw Brian Wilson playing that way, and I played with my thumb ever since.
See, now that's a great story for all you bass players out there. Tell me, 8th grade, you joined your band, 1966, the Belvederes. Is that right?
Yeah, the Belvederes, right.
What kind of music? What kind of music was that?
Well, we were doing Beatles and British Invasion. That was what was going on. And actually, that band morphed into the Children of Stone. And Mo, we used to play a bunch of Chicago, Chicago groups, the Mods, the Shadows of Night, their songs, New Colony 6, whatever was coming out on WLS and WCFL, in addition to the Beatles and the Stones, the obvious stuff, we were playing it. I mean, I still can't believe all the Buckinghams. I mean, we played all those songs. I'll Go Crazy, Kind of a Drag, Hey Baby.
Hey Baby, yeah. I mean, all the great songs that you mentioned. But growing up Italian, Joe, was it difficult when you wanted to start playing out in bands on the week? Did you get any shit from mom and dad? Because I know I did.
I gotta tell you, it's funny. I didn't. And here's the other funny thing, because I was just telling somebody this story the other day. So I'm a freshman in high school. And we ended up getting gigs at high schools in Wisconsin, and where we would be staying overnight. We had no adult supervision. I would never let my kid do that now.
Good. Yeah, my mother either. Go ahead. My mother and my dad worked nights, so I was out all the time.
Yeah,
there was
right.
nobody watching us. Absolutely.
Right. So, it's a funny thing, because we wouldn't let our kids do that now, but we did it, and, thank God we survived, and we're here.
And you're still here. You're watching Ocean's Pit, the little show about big things, folks. Our good friend, Chicagoland legend, legendary bass player, our good buddy Joe Gagliardo. Folks, let's talk about a quick sponsor just to make sure we get these guys. Got to make these guys happy. They pay the bills. Airtight Windows, folks. Siding and specialist, family owned for the last 30 years. For honesty and quality, do it right with Airtight Windows. 708-788-5000. Call my buddy Lou at Airtight Windows. Joe, growing up, great music out of Chicago, great stuff coming out of Chicago. Then, of course, we've had our good buddy Dirty Dan Buck, of course, was on the show as well. The Boys. Man, when that band hit, it was Too Wild to Tell. It was just like, wow, where did this come from? Because at that time, I mean, you had your Styx, I think. You had Chicago. You had them. But this band came out, and they were like raw and energy. What were you thinking when you heard all this stuff?
Well, I got to tell you that, first of all, Dirt said to say hello to you. I talked to him this morning, and he said, make sure you tell him I said hello. And
you tell him I said hello, too.
I will. Well,
Thank you.
I had the same reaction as you. I mean, I went to see the Boys. I'm talking about 1977. And I will say this, and I've seen a lot of live bands, and I'm talking about national acts. One of the greatest shows that I have ever seen was the boys. I think it might have been the night before Thanksgiving at Monopoly, and everything was converging. They had been signed, or were about to be signed. And they were one of the hardest rocking, most energetic bands, and I loved them. And so when Dirt asked me to come play with them, it was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding! The boys were one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah.
But the next day after that show, Sky Daniels was on the loop at that time, and I may have the date wrong. It might not have been the night before Thanksgiving, but what Sky said was, look, for any of you that were at Monopoly last night, you now know how Boston felt when Jay Giles was blowing out of the club scene. Because if you were at Monopoly and you saw the boys, the place was on fire. They blew the roof off the joint.
Yeah, it makes you wonder that they never got the recognition that Styx and Survivor and Chicago and all those bands did. Any idea why? I mean, I asked Dirty Dan. I guess it was, you said a lot of things came to do with politics, and I believe that's a lot to do with a lot of shit, unfortunately, with record labels and management.
I think what happened, unfortunately, they got their record deal through John Polis, who was the drummer of the Buckinghams.
Sure.
And John passed away. And I think, it's like a lot of things in life. Things sort of come together, and sometimes they come together in a good way, and sometimes they come together in a way where things fall apart. Unfortunately for them, they fell apart. But, I still believe, even if I wasn't playing with Dan for the last 19 years, one of the greatest bands I ever saw. And that's a tribute to those original guys.
Absolutely. What a great band it is. We got a lot of people saying, hello, Herbie Gaines, how you doing, my friend? Albert, Christine, Tracy, of course, from Good Clean Fun. Of course, you got to love Mike and Tracy, man. What a great band.
I love them. And Tracy sang with us for a number of years.
Yes, Tracy's unbelievable. And her mother, Peggy. I mean, just good people all around, man. I love them. I love them all, man. Absolutely. All right, let's get so Dirty Dan. I know you opened for Cheap Trick in 2003 at the Star Plaza. We both love Cheap Trick. I mean, the Cheap Trick band, one of the great bands, the hardest working bands in rock and roll. They're always out there working. I'm glad they finally got put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which they definitely deserved. But two interesting things. Three. Let's get to playing with Little Richard. Now, how cool was that?
Yeah, what happened with that, Mo, I didn't actually play with him. He opened the show for Chuck Berry.
All right.
And so there's a little bit of a funny story. So the show was at Hawthorne Park Racetrack, and the band for Chuck Berry was me, our Jimmy Perino, who's one of the boys, and my brother-in-law Dennis Bozella. So it was a Saturday night. It was staying light a little later than normal. It was October. And Little Richard at the time was an Orthodox Jew. And Little Richard's people called the racetrack and said, hey, he can't travel until the sun goes down. And Chuck Berry said, I don't care. I don't care when he can travel. He's going on ahead of me. There was a little fun there. But Little Richard's guys, we shared the same dressing room. And they were like the Blues Brothers on steroids. In fact, just a real quick story. We're back there with them, and they're jiving us in a good way about that Chuck Berry. We don't have a set list. We don't know what songs we're going to play. That whole thing.
Yeah, right.
He's the drill. So they go out and they play, and I'm back there in the dressing room tuning up and get my stuff together. And I hear them playing, and I thought, let me walk out there and see. So there was a runway that went right up to this stage. So I go walking up there, and it's literally like I'm getting punched in the chest. He's got two bass players, two drummers, two keyboard players, two guitar players, two trumpets, two saxes, two trombones. And I'm like, oh my God, in about 45 minutes, I'm coming out of here. No sound check. I don't know what songs we're going to play. Nothing. He's not going to signal keys. But, it all ended up great. Chuck was great to us, and it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And
you know what, Joe? I heard that a lot about Chuck Berry. My old manager, Phil Vaughn, great guy, of course, used to manage the Buckinghams and came out with one of their last records back in the 80s. But then I heard that even when I watched the Keith Richard documentary and I read his book about that Chuck Berry was not very easy to get along with. And like you said, there was no set list. And here it is, blah, blah, blah. Here's the chord and do what you have to do. I mean, but what he's done for rock and roll is just a miracle.
It's a miracle. And you know what was interesting, at the end of the show in retrospect, because I asked him before the show, I said, are you at least going to signal a key? And he goes, no, man, I'm going to go out there and play Chuck Berry songs and you guys jump in whenever, you're ready for it. But at the end of the night, you realize that it's Chuck Berry, one of the architects of rock and roll, as we know it today, as well as over all these years. And the people were in a frenzy, just like as if he was playing with a regular band, And so it all became clear that, look, I mean, I'm sure we did a fine job with him and he was really nice to us and appreciative. But the reality is everybody's there to see him.
Yeah. And you know what? And we're thinking about that. We're just talking about the, if you're just joining us, folks, Ocean's Pit, the little show about big things. My good buddy, Joe Gigliardo. Joe, the difference back then when you were starting out, many, many, many great fine establishments to play at, number one. Right. Number two, there was a lot of record labels in Chicago, a lot of agents in the music business. I was even asking this to Ronnie Rice. What do you think happened? Why did that all go away? And then Chicago, everybody seemed like they all moved to LA or they moved to Nashville. What happened to Chicago? The music scene at one time, all those bands were just huge. And then all of a sudden, everything kind of dried up. What's your opinion of that?
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, you think back to the 60s and you had high school dances and actually even grammar school dances. At my grammar school, I went to St. Andrews on Addison and Paulina. We had great dances. We had the American Breed. We had Rufus in their early days, 4 days and a night, Buckingham's, Gordon Tech, Sock Hop. So you could go see these bands. Also, there were all of these, the Hut and, all these Green Gorilla and all these teen clubs. So that was that whole boon. And then things sort of dried up, I think, as problems started happening. And then, as we know, we got into the 70s and there were still not, now all of a sudden there was this big burst. You had Monopoly, Haymakers, The Thirsty Whale, all the places we loved going to, listen to music. And, but those places have all, gone away. And what's interesting is, when you look at the Chicago, I'll call it the club scene, and I'm, being very inclusive, there aren't a lot of places to play anymore. No. you because a lot of the clubs or places are sort of niche areas where we wouldn't fit because of the music we're playing. And so, when people say to me, well, why don't you play more in Chicago? I say, you got to play where the gigs are available. And luckily, we do a lot of festivals, over the summer.
Yeah, well, thank God the festivals. Right.
Yeah, it's just in a lot of places.
Joe, I agree with you. But, the term that you're hearing a lot these days is rock and roll is dead. Looks like they're not really pushing a lot of new rock and roll acts out there anymore. The younger generation. It's all this country or hip hop or rap or whatever it is, pop, bubble pop, whatever, bubble gum, whatever stuff. Not bubble gum, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And some, that's why people still waiting. That's why the Stones are still headlining, and thousands and thousands of people go see these bands because there's the grasping to bring back some of that what they grew up with hearing.
Right.
And
yeah, and I think that I think that the fact that people can sit in their bedroom or basement or living room and record music and put it out there, you look at in a way how irrelevant big labels have become. You were right. You mentioned a bunch of the Chicago labels, VJ, Smash,
Sure.
All those labels that we had here, Curtis Mayfield's label. But as time went on, they all sort of went away. And I think a lot of it was for business reasons and also, the changing of the guard in the music industry. But now you look at a lot of these younger acts end up becoming popular because of YouTube, TikTok, or whatever their, platform they're able to go out on. And they don't even need a big record label anymore.
No, you're not. A couple other things you did. You filled in. The bass player got COVID, so you filled in and played with Mighty Max Weinberg. One of my favorite drummers of all time, of course, with the great East Street Band, Bruce Springsteen, and he was also the guy behind you're the house band for Conan, right? For a long time, for many years.
17 years.
What was that like? What was that like,
Well,
Joe?
I got to tell you, so it was one of those things where I got a message late Saturday night from Max's manager saying, hey, his bass player, and by the way, his bass player is Glenn Burtnick, who was in Styx and was in Beatlemania, and you know, he's done a lot of things, solo artist. So I got a message from his manager saying Glenn came down with COVID and your name came up. Would you be able to do this gig? So it's almost midnight on Saturday night when I get the message, and I sent him a message and said, I'll call you tomorrow. So I called him the next day, and he said, look, there's this big event. It's a big fundraiser at City Winery. Do you think you'd be able to do the gig? Now, Max Weinberg's concept is it's called Max Weinberg's Jukebox. Yes. And the reason is because he's got songs scrolling on the side of the stage, and the audience gets to make requests, and the band plays the request. It's like going and putting your dime in the jukebox.
But you know what? And if you and I know where Max got that, because if you're a Springsteen fan, a lot of people would hold up songs, and he would grab the thing and go, all right, guys, this is what we're doing. So that's a great concept. That's a great idea. So that all turned out really good for you, right?
Yeah. So anyway, what ended up happening was I said to Max's manager, I said, look, you guys don't know me. You never played with me. I don't want to put anybody in a box. And I realized that this is a big event. And, you know, the guitar players, there's two guitar players. They're heavy duty guys. One guy was Don Henley's guitar player. And the other guy, John Merjavi, is you know, out of Brooklyn. And he plays with Glenn Burtnick and the Weaklings and plays in a bunch of different bands. So I said, you know, look, how about this? I show up at the sound check. If Max likes what's going on, I'll do the gig. If Max doesn't, no hard feelings, you know? And so he goes, are you sure? I said, yeah. So I showed up at the City Winery. So remember, this is taking place on Sunday. We're doing the Rock and Roll Museum thing Sunday night. I have a business meeting on Monday for about 4 or 5 hours. And so I've got to cram all these songs into my head between midday Sunday and Tuesday at 3 o'clock when I have to show up at the sound check. So I did. We ran through about 5 or 6 songs. Max said, look forward to doing the show with you. And I got to tell you this because it's a great story in light of the complicated world we live in.
Yes.
Max could not have been nicer. The two guys in his band, Chris Holt and John Merjavi, were also great. But Max, here's a guy, plays in the East Street Band, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame drummer, Conan O'Brien, like you said, 17 years. He probably sat with us between the pre-gig and the post-gig. He didn't just put it, change his clothes and leave.
Right.
I probably spent 3.5 hours with him. Okay.
Yeah.
And let me tell you the kind of guy he is. The next day, I get a call and it's him. I don't have his phone number. I see this odd phone number. I answer and it's Max. And he says, Joe, I just want to tell you did a great job. And I want to thank you for jumping in at the last minute. It really made a big difference. Who does that?
Yeah, that's a classy guy.
That guy's aces.
Yeah, and even when he plays with that suit and tie, when he never sweats. I never see sweat on this guy. Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, that's a great. I mean, you've played a lot of great stuff with a lot of different people, Joe. And I know you're busy. I got a couple more questions for you. Let me ask you, March 14th, 2020, you hear about COVID-19. You hear about everything closing. You hear about music, no more live gigs. What was the first thing you thought about, number one, for your family, and number two, about the business, the music business?
Well, one, safety. And I would tell you, I'm a COVID survivor.
Me too.
I ended up getting COVID in October of whatever that was, 2020, and never been so sick in my life. But I'm alive. I'm here. But the safety issue was the first thing, and then the second thing was as time went on, and we realized that this was not going to be over with anytime soon. You did wonder, well, what's going to happen? Like, our club's going to survive, our band's going to survive. What's going to happen? And thankfully, everybody didn't make it, club wise or band wise, but a lot of them did, and things are opening up again, as we know, and we got to be grateful.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's perfectly with the same thing with a lot of people have said about it. Interesting stuff. But like I said, the people are going out and supporting local establishments. They're going out and supporting live entertainment, which we definitely do need that. No matter what type of music you're in, whether you like it or not, you need to go out and support this kind of something called music, because we all need it. One last thing about you, Joe, is something you coming up with. 50 profiles, something called Know Your Bass Player.
Right.
That sounds interesting. What is that about?
Well, it's a group. I became friends with a handful of bass players out of New York. The main guy is Tom Semioli, and he started this site, Know Your Bass Player. And what he did was wrote some profiles on bass players, and he also interviews bass players on video, and then he posts them. So I became friends with him, and he said to me, Joe, there's probably a lot of great bass players in Chicago. And I said, yeah. And he said, would you be interested in doing these profiles? And I said, I'd love to. And so you can well imagine, Mo, you name any Chicago band that we love. The Buckinghams, Baby Huey, Ides of March, American Breed, the Insiders. I could go on and on and on. Material Issue, Pez Band off Broadway. I interviewed all those bass players and wrote profiles. And then that led to, because of COVID, the nasty part of COVID was one of the nasty parts, everything shut down. One of the pluses was all of these bands weren't touring. So I ended up doing interviews and profiles on Bruce Thomas of Elvis Costello, John Lodge of the Moody Blues, Stu Cook of Creedence Clearwater, Mark Andes of Heart, and JoJo Gunn and Spirit. I could go on and on. All these national bass players who are my heroes, and they gave me all the time in the world because they had all the time in the world at that point.
And then you get the profiles. Very interesting thing, man. Know your bass players. Cool. I'm going to rattle off 4 names real quick. Bass players. All right. Mark Anthony, Van Halen. Like him?
Oh, yeah. Of course I do. Of course I do. And remember, he was a background singer too. He did a lot of those harmonies.
Those high vocals, yeah.
Yeah, the high vocals.
Let's go to Bill Wyman of the Rolling Stones. Not with him anymore.
One of my favorites, and I think underrated.
Absolutely. He's got a new documentary coming out. I loved him. I mean, he stood there like a stone, just playing his part, did what he was supposed to do, and he'll always be remembered for that.
I love him so much, Mo, that I have a Framus Star bass like he used to play, and I have a Vox teardrop bass called the Wyman bass.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, John Entwistle. I mean, come on.
Oh, my God. Every time my generation comes on, whether I'm in the car or whatever, I turn it up, I get goosebumps, and I still think to myself, how the hell did he come up with the idea for that bass solo?
Unbelievable, though, talent that he is. And let's go to Paul McCartney.
One of the most melodic, phenomenal bass players. I think because of this, Get Back and this focus on the Beatles. I mean, I've always loved the Beatles, but I've gone back and started listening to it again, and I'm just amazed at these bass lines that he came up with. Listen, there's some obvious bass lines like, Bulldog, Hey Bulldog, and Lady Madonna. Listen to his bass lines in And Your Bird Can Sing or Nowhere Man, where unless you're really paying attention, you miss the brilliance of his playing.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing stuff that he is. And here's one I think that's very underrated. I don't know what you tell me. 4-string, 6-string, 8-string, 12-string. We're talking about Tom Peterson of
Tom Peterson. Oh, sure. Tom Peterson's a great bass player, and he's a guy that I'd love to do one of these Know Your Bass Player profiles on. I haven't been able to reach him. So if you or somebody that's listening to this, has some contact with Tom, I'd love to
get him out there. Well, Joe, have you ever played a 12-string? 6? Is that crazy?
I actually have one. It doesn't exactly work for me because I play with my thumb. I'd have to play with a pick, and I actually have smaller hands, and so it's a little more difficult. But Tom has mastered that, and has done a phenomenal job.
Well, you know what? I want to thank you so much, Joe, for being on, my brother. I know you're a busy man. Anything coming up with Dick? Dirty Dan?
Well, the only thing we got now is at the end of July, we'll be playing Jefferson Park Fest, but one of the boys in the process of, we're actually, starting to book gigs right now. So hopefully they'll start lining up. And, I want to thank you for having me on. I think my big brother, Dirty Dan Buck, it's been a hell of a ride over 19 years. And the other guys in the band, Buddy Wiggleman, who was in Star Trooper and One Armed Bandit, Scott Kelly, the drummer, who was in Dirt's Raiders and Black Cat, my brother, Jimmy Perino, Easy Dave Haynes, who led the Luxury,
Luxury, another great band out of Chicago.
Great players with history, but also all great guys. I mean, I couldn't be playing with a better bunch of guys. But you got the same thing with my dear friend Mark Sheely, who's a great bass player, and my dear
Mark's
friend.
fantastic, a great guy, a brother, of course, plays with the Dream Police and many other great acts. Joe, I want to thank you for what you do, buddy. Keep doing what you do. Keep playing. Let's just keep rock and rolling. That's all we can do, brother. And have a safe, happy holidays. Buon Natale, you and your family, and Happy New Year, buddy.
Thank you, Mo. Thanks. Same to you and your family.
God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, Ocean's Pit with a Chicago legend, baby. On the bass, you're talking about Joe Gagliardo, folks, and that's fantastic. All right, we got some other stuff to talk about, folks. One time for another sponsor. We got to keep throwing these sponsors in for this 1 hour, folks. Now, we all know that the gift-giving season is now. Christmas ain't too far away, folks. SteakSyndicate.com, making you an offer you can't refuse. You like chicken, steaks, burgers, fish, pork chops, delivered right to your home like you get at all the different restaurants. SteakSyndicate.com. John Seriani put this together, folks. You can't miss it. You go to SteakSyndicate.com. You go into promo code. You put Tony Ocean, and you get a $25% off the membership fee and one free tomahawk steak. You can be a member of the Corleone Club. Get these steaks and chicken and fish and burgers and chops delivered right to your home, baby. SteakSyndicate.com. All right, man. This is great. And it's just good that we keep having these different guests on and different stuff that we have. We try to get people on from all types of music or industry, whatever they're doing with their careers. But we have a lot of things to talk about. We got about another half hour left of music. But I want to thank Joe for being on. But let's get to some of these stories that we're talking about here. Folks, we have to see the prayers, of course, of Denver Bronco wide receiver. If you follow football, folks, this Darian Thorpe died at 33 years old. And these guys, some of these, when they start doing these experiments on some of these people, finding out that he's got these head injuries, and it's making a lot of crazy things happen to some of these NFL players, which is very, very sad. It really is. We also want to say prayers out to Renato Torano, of course, of the great legendary Torano Bakery. He passed away a couple of days ago. Renato, of course, Torano Bakery was a big bakery out there. And we had my father with Ganella Baking Company and Torano always at each other, always, two different types of bread, of course. But he was in the business many, many years. So our prayers go out to Torano family. Again, I got to say the prayers out to everybody in Kentucky with these tornadoes. 74 people dead. 26,000 people without power. Our prayers go out to that. And, God, if that happens at any time, now imagine happening during the holidays, it's got to be even worse. I don't know what they can do to ever prevent stuff like this happening. The act of God is something they can never predict or help, but it's just pretty crazy to me, folks. All right, with some stories you guys have been sending me here. Look at this. How about another horrible, according to HuffPost.com or HuffPost.com, about that warehouse, the Amazon warehouse that collapsed in Illinois. 6 people have died over that because of bad weather. Now, some people saying the warehouse was not up to par. It was old, and then the weather came and destroyed it. But here, this is an Amazon warehouse in Illinois. I mean, it's hitting your state, our state. And it's just a crazy stuff that's happening. And you never know, man. You just never know. Here, according to the New York Post, businesses have that mask mandate. Every business in New York, it's there. That's not changing. There's some places here in Illinois have got rid of the mask. I know here in Elk Grove have. I see people in Walmart without masks. So I do see that. But here's in New York, they're completely strict over there. You need the vaccine to eat in the restaurants or to go any of those buildings, and now a mask all the time, and different stuff for different states. Little crazy here. Also, folks, according to Newsweek, the Alexa internet will be removed by Amazon by the end. Anybody that has the account for Alexa right now, it's going to be good, but it's going to be good till May of 2022. After May 2022, Alexa will not be around anymore with Amazon. Alexa will not be around anymore with Amazon as of May 22nd, folks. I have a friend who writes music about sewing machines, and I want to thank Marion for sending this. I have a friend who has a friend who writes music about sewing machines. Hey, he's a singer, songwriter, or so it seems. You gotta love that, right, Marianne? Thank you so much. Hey, folks, how about this? December 14th, or actually, I'm sorry, December 15th, 1956, of course, the part that goes down in history of the great Rosa Parks, of course, the African-American lady that would not sit in the back of the bus. Many, many years have passed when all that went down, of course, but it goes down in history. 1955 on December 15th, Rosa Parks, a whole story about that. She said, "Hell with you, I'm sitting wherever I want," and it was good for her, and it changed everything in this crazy world that we live in, folks. Absolutely. We're trying to get some other stuff here. We got some dates coming up. 22nd of December will be at Rosario's Christmas show with my good buddy Ryan O'Ryan. 29th is my birthday party bash. A lot of surprise guests at Bellagio. I can't wait to have it. It's going to be fun, man. Turning 59, come out and celebrate. On the 30th, we're going to be at Cucina, Zaza's Cucina in Park Ridge, making our debut. Perfect time for New Year's Eve, folks. Avanti Banquets in Barrington, South River Grove area, folks, is going to be great with the Main Event Band. Excited, man. They got a great package Chicago Prime has put together. I'm excited. January 1st, we're going to be, of course, at Doc's in Wakanda. Have not been there in many, many years, man, so it's got to be cool to be back. And then, of course, every Thursday, January and February, we're going to be at Are We Live in Burr Ridge, man, one of the hottest new nightclubs in the city of Chicago. I can't wait. Gigi does it again, folks. All right. Let's see here. This is stuff you can't make up, folks. According to the New York Post, there's her mom. Her name is Laura Ogilvy, 48 years old, steals her daughter's ID to go to college to pick up young men. You can't make this shit up, folks. Newsweek, absolutely. Mom, 48 years old, stealing her daughter's ID so she can go to college and start dating young men. Her name was Laura Hayes, is the daughter, and Laura Ogilvy, 48. Is this crazy? I mean, come on, man. This is nuts. Stealing your ID. I could see stealing an ID to get into a nightclub, but stealing an ID to go to college or trying to pick up younger guys. Right, Tanya? It's crazy. How you doing? Albert? Yeah. Kathy? Danny, what's going on? Hope everybody's doing well, man. Yeah. I mean, these crazy stories about these generation. Hey, Tony. For tonight, Capri and Willow Springs or tomorrow? Lou, tomorrow night is Capri. Tomorrow is Capri. Tonight will be a Tavern on the Point. Tony Bisek, hey, man, congratulations on those tickets to go see the Buddy Rich Band this Sunday. Now, here's something else, folks. I mean, I hate to get down to this point, but, you want to know if you're out of shape, and right around Christmas time, folks, get on the floor. Get on the floor and get your presents and start wrapping these presents. And because it's going to take you a while to wrap them while you're laying on the floor or sitting on the floor, whatever it is. Then try getting back up. Now, I'm telling you, folks, that is an Olympic event. If you guys could actually do that, because I'm telling you, man, isn't it crazy? Jeff, how you doing, buddy? I hope you're doing well. All right, listen to this. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. I don't care if you're Democrat or if I don't care if you're Republican. But I would need you guys to really listen to this. It makes no sense to me at all. And I want to know if it's meant to make sense to you. Because, ladies and gentlemen, it's called That's Suspicious. That's suspicious. And that's right, folks. So listen to this. I took of names of people that were in politics, in the government. Now listen to this. Dianne Feinstein, 60 years in the government. 60 years she's been in the government, folks. Chuck Schultman, 45 years in the government. Maxine Watson, 47 years in government. Patrick Leahy, 54 years in the government. President Joe Biden, 51 years he's been in the government. Nancy Pelosi, 33 years in the government. Now listen to this. All these years combined, and they blamed everything on former President Donald Trump, who was only in office for 3 years, folks. 3 years. And these people have been in politics for decades, and they're still not solving any of the problems. All these people in the government, all these years, and they still can't solve problems, but they blame everything on former President Donald Trump. Now, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, folks, that just seems a little unfair, doesn't it, folks? That's called that's suspicious. And I know you guys are all on my side on this one. And I know a lot of people who voted for Biden right now are really kicking themselves in the ass because things are just not right. Trey, oh, hi, guys. How you doing? Hope you guys are doing well. Got some good stuff here. 50 years ago today was the release of one of the greatest power pop albums of all time, the great Straight Up. That was from the rock band Badfinger, of course, right out of England. And they thought Badfinger was going to be huge because they had on Apple Records, they were backed up by the Beatles, of course. George Harrison wrote a song for them. Paul McCartney wrote a song for them. I mean, Badfinger was it. And they had some great songs, great hits. And then, of course, tragically, Peter Ham hung himself, passed away. Then Tommy Evans hung himself years later because of management and because of getting royalties screwed. I mean, it's got to be a horrible, horrible way to live your life when you're in this band and you think you got all this money coming in and you find out your manager robbed you. And it's just horrible to end the life of these. Peter Ham, if he was still alive now, was making such great music. And of course, 50 years ago, of course, the band record Straight Up by Badfinger. I don't know. I wish it just goes to show you if these bands were still around, what kind of music that people would still be making today. And that's very important to me. How about this, folks? According to a Colorado University, they're looking for men 21 to 40 years old or women 21 to 40 years old to get paid by exercising while you're high on cannabis, pot. They're taking a study here, folks. Well, they will pay you. Now, you go to the Colorado University on their website, and they will tell you they're looking for students, men 21 to 40 and women 21 to 40, to get exercise while you're on high on cannabis. To get paid to do this, folks. I don't smoke pot. I don't care for it myself. But there you go. Guys want to go out to Colorado over there and exercise while you're high? Let's see how good that is. If you don't kill yourself, should be very interesting, folks. Another thing we were talking about, folks, and every other day things have been coming up. Meat, chicken, recalled. Fruits are being recalled. Coca-Cola products are being recalled. A Minute Maid, they found screws and bolts inside Minute Maid, things of orange juice and punch. I mean, what's going on with all these recalls? Have you seen this stuff, man? It's crazy, right? I know. Joanne, I don't understand it myself. I don't get it, man. You're seeing this stuff left and right. I don't know. But I got some good news, folks. That's suspicious. CNN. Yeah, some of you might love this great station, CNN. Their viewing dropped 77% in the last 12 months. 77% viewership is down in the last 12 months. So is Fallon, so is Kimball, so is Colbert, losing half their audiences. And you know what? I don't know. I didn't like any of that shit that they do. Don't care for any of them. Never did. I've not watched late night for many, many years. Of course, I watched Carson after Carson left. But it's just, you can't lie about the facts. And this is what's happening. I don't know, man. Just don't get the late night like you used to. And that's the thing that's really drives me a little crazy here, folks. It really does. How about this, folks? Whipping Post. Remember the song Whipping Post? I think ZZ Top did it. Anyway, this is really weird because I've never really heard about this, but whipping was illegal. I'm sorry, whipping was legal up until 1972. And it was only one or two states that still have these live whippings where they would go out there and you'd get whipped for some sort of crime that you did. And the last public whipping ended in 2020 in the state of Delaware. So people in Delaware, up until 2020, if you did a crime, you got out in front into the town and you would still get whipped like they did back in the old days. They were still doing this shit in Delaware in 2020. That's only 2 years ago. Isn't it nuts? Our friend Joe Perillo, folks, of Perillo Car Dealerships, of course, a great guy, a good friend of ours. In the middle of the day, these guys robbed, unbelievable, the car dealership in the middle of the day. Jewelry, cash, in the middle of the day. And nobody gives a shit. Nobody's doing anything about it. Mayor Lightfoot, our mayor, says that the reason why all these crimes are going on, they're blaming the small business owners. They don't take enough protection to their business. Well, folks, let me tell you something. This stuff has been happening for how many years, but not like it's happening now. It's going everywhere. Blaming the small business owner. If you have a small business and you're in the city of Chicago, you know how much you're paying on property tax? If you want these businesses to take care of, step up their security, then maybe lower the property taxes so maybe people can afford some of that stuff. But these people now, folks, are walking in broad daylight. Broad daylight. They don't care. And the poor police officers, what are they going to do? God forbid they touch you the wrong way. God forbid they do something wrong. I just can't stop. Just pisses me off when I hear about all this crazy stuff. All right, folks, you got 3 jabs in 1 year, and you're still calling it a vaccine. Really? 3 jabs in 1 year? I don't know. Thank you, Lisa Parks, for sending that in. I really appreciate it. But I love all the stuff you guys are sending me in, and I really do appreciate some of your stories and good stuff. Here, this really gets my goat. If you're golfers out there, I don't golf. Maybe once or twice a year I do. I'm not a good golfer at all. I stink at it. But Titleist makes golf balls. Now, there were people getting Let's Go branded golf balls, like personally made. You would call the company and say you want these personal, because you can get these golf balls with your name on it or any logo that you want. You can order those for yourself. Well, Titleist will not let you order those golf balls with the name Let's Go branded on it. They forbid it. They won't take the order. But on the other hand, if you're pissed off about that, Callaway, who also makes golf balls, are embracing it, the Let's Go branded. So if you're pissed off about Titleist, tell them to go screw themselves and go to Callaway, because Callaway will let you put whatever you want on your golf balls. And it's up to you. It's like you're buying a T-shirt and you from a company. You want something put on the T-shirt or a chain or something. You can put on whatever you want. They can't make you, but this company decides not to let it done. And that's what I mean about how crazy this world is. It's just a slogan, Let's Go Brandon, and you can't put it on there. But one golf ball company says you can't. One golf ball company says you can. So what does that tell you? According to Newsweek, folks, Governor DeSantis out of Florida is offering a $5,000 bonus for anybody that coming from another state, police officer that wants to relocate to Florida. They'll give you a $5,000 bonus. So if you're any other state, and especially here in Illinois, and you want to get the hell out of this crooked town, folks, you go right up there to Florida, folks, and they're giving a $5,000 signing bonus to become a police officer, moving from whatever state you're in to Florida, according to Newsweek magazine. Very, very cool. You got to love that, and you got to love that Governor DeSantis. Some people do, some people don't. But what are you going to do? You can't please everybody, right, folks? Ocean's Pit, the little show about big things. Hey, we were talking about Portillo's, folks, and about these fundraisers that they do. But our son works for Portillo's. He's a marketing manager in the marketing department. And he was asking people for these fundraisers. And they still want to do that. If you're still interested in having a fundraiser, nonprofit, they will do that for you, folks. You can come to their establishments, tell them what's the name of your club that you want to put this together with. Anything they sell over $200, you get 20%. But basically what Portillo's needs from you right now, folks, is help. They need workers. So anybody out there that's looking for jobs, children, men, people laying around doing nothing at home, anybody out there, Portillo's is hiring. And so go to any of your near Portillo's near your home, fill out an application. You're looking for work. They are looking. You can go right to jfank@portillos.com, or you can call Joe at 224-636-3646. That's Portillo's fundraisers, and they're also looking for help. So please, anybody looking to get some work out there, let's go to Portillo's. Let's do that. A music company, the music industry lost another great bass player, the great Phil Chen. Phil Chen was great. We used to be with Rod Stewart for many, many years. A great bass player, and our prayers go out to the Chen family. Horrible loss. There's a picture of Joe, our guest today. He was on with a picture of Phil, and what a great bass player he was. How about let's do some birthdays right now. Jeff Dubray, our good friend Jeff. How you doing, buddy? Of course, he plays with the Main Event Band. Me and Jeff will be at Doc's on January 1st. Happy birthday, my good buddy Jeff Dubray. John Drummond from Channel 5 News. The great John Drummond celebrates a birthday. Another great singer in the Chicagoland area, Bonnie Bridges, celebrates a birthday. Hi, Bonnie. It was great seeing you last Friday. You and Kim Peterson LeFew at Chicago Prime. So happy birthday, Bonnie. William Refrigerator Perry, of course, of the former 85 world champion, Super Bowl champs, the Chicago Bears. The Fridge celebrates a birthday today. How about the great Don Johnson, of course, from Miami Vice, celebrates a birthday, turned 72 years old today, the great Don Johnson. And last but not least, Carmine Appice, a great drummer, of course. His brother Vinny Appice plays with Black Sabbath. Carmine played with Vanilla Fudge and Rod Stewart for many years. Also a co-writer of the song, Do You Think I'm Sexy? If you want my body and you think I'm sexy. Right, Rod Stewart made it a hit, but Carmine co-wrote that. And also Carmine was a co-host with Ron Onesti on a couple of his shows here that he does all the time. So happy birthday goes out to our good friend Carmine Appice. That's great. Applying, go White Sox. All right. True story. Thank you, Cole. How you doing? Joe has a great taste in music. Yeah, he's fantastic. Tracy, I hope you're doing well, honey. Just going back to try to get some of these news stories. All right. According to CNN, Derek Chavis, the guy who, the police officer that got and killed George Floyd, first when he got arrested, ladies and gentlemen, he put in the plea bargain. He said that he was not guilty. Well, now, according to CNN today, he wants to change his verdict, which means he can only change his verdict to guilty. So now we're saying that, it is what it is. I'm sure not much he can do to change his outlook on what his life is doing right now. But he wants to change his plea from not guilty. So CNN is going to start doing a little story about that. According to the Daily Beast, President Joe Biden now will make your passports renewal way easier. Now, that's probably the best thing Sleepy Joe has done. If you want to get a passport, you want to go somewhere, right, ladies and gentlemen, but you can't, or it takes forever to get a passport. But I guess now, according to the Daily Beast, President Joe Biden is making it easier for people to get a passport so they can travel. Good or bad, I don't know. I just know that you can get it done, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. There's a fee that you can also pay to get it done faster. But now I don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to make it done to get that passport done quicker to you. I'm not quite sure how they're going to do it. I love this quote by Mary Ann from Berwyn, Illinois. Mary Ann says, not everyone Not every person needs to know the real you. Let the critics believe they think they know who you are. I think everybody's got a different side to them at different times. I think we've talked about this many times. As an entertainer, anybody out in the field, people think that this is the way you are all the time or the way it is. But, everybody has two different types of personalities. I know I do. I might even have three. I don't know. It depends on who you ask. But you don't need to tell everybody. But one thing about me, I've always said and have done from very beginning, I've always spoke my mind and I've always wore my heart on my sleeve, good and bad. So don't be afraid to do that, folks. And I love this quote. Thank you, Teresa, for sending this in. Musicians are just like therapists that you can party with. And I love that. Musicians are therapists. They're out there. They're doing their music. They're giving you music. We've been through so much crap in the world if you're a musician. We've been through a lot of stuff. So how about this, folks? According to the Today Show, Dr. Oz ending his show after many years, and now he wants to run for Senate. Oh, boy, another crackpot is all we need in the Congress or in the Senate. Well, you know what? Now, Sonny Bono, the great singer, songwriter, of course, he was married to Cher, and then he went into the Senate and did a very good job. So did, remember Gopher from the Love Boat? He actually went to Senate, and he did a very good job, too. So who knows? Dr. Oz leaving television after many years to run for Senate. Should be interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, let's see here, folks. And one last thing we got to talk about. We ain't much time. How many people in the world would have been saved? I want to make sure I pronounce this right. Ivermectin? It's a drug that they use in the hospital to help people from COVID. Some of this stuff, folks, which people, and it has proven to work. The problem is that pisses me off, and that's what I talk about being that suspicious is that, ladies and gentlemen, that if you are going to the hospital and you're an outpatient and you ask the doctor for this particular drug, they will give it to you. But the minute you get admitted into the hospital, you could no longer have this drug. Why? If it saves your life, why aren't they giving this drug to people right away when they find out they have COVID and they're dying or they're sick and they have these bad symptoms or they're in the hospital? Why is this drug not given out? Why can you get it when you're an outpatient, but you can't get it when you're admitted? We were out to dinner last night and people were telling us the story. They don't want to give it to you. They want to get you in the hospital because once you're admitted, that's when they start making the cash. That's when they start making the money, folks. Trying to save people's lives here. That's what it's about. Saving people's lives. All right, folks. Enough is enough. I want to thank you all for watching the show today, everybody. Not forget, now tomorrow, folks, is Thursday, and my lovely wife, Laura, will be with us as co-host. And tonight will be a Tavern on the Point. I'm looking forward to see some great people. The great Dolly McCarthy from Park Ridge is stopping by. The girls from Smothered will be there tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun at Tavern on the Point in Edison Park with the return of Regina Karma and, of course, Ryan O'Ryan. 7 o'clock. Tomorrow will be at Capri in Willow Springs. Friday, of course, Chicago Prime Steakhouse. Saturday, Taverna on Division. And Sunday, the Speakeasy, Frank Sinatra Speakeasy, Sinatra Sunday in St. Charles. A lot of good stuff going on. So go out, support, do what you got to do. I want to thank my good buddy Joe Gagliardo, of course, great bass player from the Chicagoland area. And let me tell you what we got coming on next week, folks. Oh, this Friday, actually, the great Stephanie Lemon, of course, who plays with the great Nixa Hodges, an incredible voice. She was also part of the St. Jude's benefit we had. She's going to be our guest on the 17th. Steve from Frontline Cigars will be our guest on the 20th. Ken Voss from the Illinois Entertainer and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame will be with us on the 21st. Elliot Thorpe, the author of the book, For the Good Times, Dean Martin will be our guest on the 22nd. John Ranke from Jay and the Americans on the 27th, and Ron Onesti on the 29th of December. I want to thank you all, everybody. Have a great day. Go out and support local establishments. Go out and support live entertainment Thank you all so much. And thanks to, let's not forget, final sponsor, Patriot Funding Incorporated, money lending at its finest. From Roselle, Illinois, call our good buddy Dave Antonelli and get that commercial money lending. 630-675-4730. And we're brought to you by Eco Solar Solutions, where you always save more energy. When you save more energy, you save more money. And the great words of Ringo Starr, peace and love. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to our executive producer, April. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. See you tomorrow. Same time, same station. God bless you, everybody. Have a great day.
Time to go. It's the end of the show. See you later,